moment Stephen A. put that list on the screen, the room didn't just tense up, it detonated. Because this wasn't a harmless ranking. It was a declaration of reality that exposed how far opinion can drift from what's actually happening on the field. And Jeff saw it instantly. This wasn't disagreement for entertainment. This was someone staring at a list and realizing it crossed the line from bold into careless. When Jeff said he was disgusted, it wasn't theatrics. It was frustration bubbling over. Because rankings like this shape narratives, and narratives shape expectations. And expectations can blind people to what's right in front of them. Calling the list fluid didn't save it. Fluid doesn't excuse nonsense. Fluid doesn't magically erase context. And that's why the Bills became the flashpoint of this entire segment. Because leaving them out wasn't just controversial, it was indefensible, based on the very logic Stephen A. claimed to be using. This is the kind of moment where sports television stops being polite and starts being honest. Where someone finally says out loud what a lot of people watching were already thinking, that you can't preach credibility and then ignore it when it's inconvenient. Jeff didn't raise his voice because he didn't need to. The facts were loud enough. And the second he started breaking down who the Jaguars actually beat, how those wins were accumulated, and what context was missing, the energy shifted. This stopped being a fun debate and turned into an exposure. Because once you pull back the curtain, once you stop listing records and start examining reality, the list collapses under its own weight. And that's what made this moment so uncomfortable. Because it wasn't just about who was ranked fifth, it was about whether the entire list could be trusted at all. What sparked all of this was Stephen A. Smith unveiling his latest A-list, his top 5 teams in the NFL after Week 15, a list he repeatedly reminded everyone was fluid, as if repetition alone could protect it from scrutiny. He placed the Texans at 5, the Jaguars at 4, the Seahawks at 3, the Broncos at 2, and the Rams at 1, while very deliberately leaving the Buffalo Bills out entirely. That omission is what lit the fuse. Jeff Saturday immediately challenged it. Not because the list was awful, but because it was almost perfect, and then derailed itself at the exact moment credibility mattered most. This debate exploded because the Bills weren't just an honorable mention, they were a direct comparison point, and Jeff wasn't willing to let that slide. If you want more unfiltered breakdowns like this, where lists actually get held accountable, make sure you subscribe to the channel and leave a like, because this is where opinion meets resistance. Stephen A.'s defense of the list leaned heavily on momentum, win streaks, and surface-level results. He praised the Texans' defense, pointing out their consistency in keeping teams under 20 points and highlighting the return of C.J. Stroud and Nico Collins. He elevated the Jaguars because of their 5-game win streak and their record atop the AFC South, emphasizing Trevor Lawrence and the fact that they were winning games without key players. He leaned into Seattle's defense and timely execution, Denver's dominance at home and relentless pass rush, and the Rams' quarterback play with Matthew Stafford performing at an elite level. On paper, it sounded cohesive. But Jeff wasn't arguing paper. He was arguing substance. The moment Jeff dissected the Jaguars' wins, the foundation cracked. He didn't deny the streak. He questioned the quality. Chargers dealing with injuries and travel, Cardinals starting a backup quarterback, Titans relying on a rookie quarterback, Colts losing Daniel Jones early, Jets on a third-string quarterback. None of that was invented. It was context Stephen A. skipped. Jeff's point wasn't that Jacksonville is bad. His point was that ranking is about relative strength right now, not just stacking wins without asking how they came. And when you apply that same scrutiny consistently, the Bills' absence becomes impossible to justify. This is where the Bills' argument gained force. Jeff didn't need to oversell them. He simply pointed out that if this list is fluid, if recent performance matters, then Buffalo belongs in the conversation. The solution wasn't dramatic. Remove Jacksonville. Insert Buffalo at 5. Slide Houston up. Suddenly, the list breathed again. Suddenly it made sense. And the fact that multiple panelists immediately agreed with that adjustment said everything. The resistance wasn't stubbornness, it was relief. Relief that someone finally said it. What makes this clash so revealing is how it exposes the tension between narrative and evaluation. Stephen A. thrives on definitive statements, on rankings that spark emotion. Jeff approached it like a locker room conversation where credibility is earned by consistency. That's why he reacted so strongly, because players don't care about fluid explanations. They care about whether you actually watch the games. And when Jeff said the list was almost perfect, that wasn't sarcasm. It was frustration at a missed opportunity to get it right. The debate then widened, pulling in Chicago, Caleb Williams, and the broader quarterback landscape. And that mattered because it showed how quickly rankings bleed into future expectations. Caleb Williams' throw to DJ Moore became a symbol of why context matters. Lowest completion probability, weather conditions, arm strength, coaching. All of it layered together to explain why raw numbers never tell the whole story. Jeff's praise of Caleb wasn't hype. It was acknowledgement of growth, coachability, and execution under demand. The same standard he was applying to teams, he applied to quarterbacks. That's what Stephen A.'s list ran into. A standard. When Jeff talked about Caleb being coached hard, about accountability raising performance, he was indirectly highlighting what rankings should reflect. Not just outcomes, but process. Not just wins, but how those wins were earned. That's why the Bills debate lingered, even as the segment drifted. Because it wasn't resolved emotionally, only logically. Stephen A. eventually conceded to a B- grade for the list, and that mattered more than the joke. It was an admission that something was off. Underneath the humor, the applause, and the banter, there was a serious message. Rankings aren't entertainment props. They frame how teams are discussed, how quarterbacks are perceived, how expectations are set heading into the postseason. Leaving the Bills out wasn't just spicy, it reshaped the picture unfairly. Jeff shutting that down wasn't about ego, it was about restoring balance. And that's why this moment stuck. Because it wasn't loud chaos, it was controlled confrontation. Jeff didn't need to shout Stephen A. down. He let the facts do it. He let the comparison do it. And once that happened, the conversation couldn't go back to being casual. The A-list wasn't just fluid anymore. It was exposed.